You're listening to the Decentralized Talk Podcast, your crypto connection.
Decentralized Talk. Decentralized Talk.
Alrighty, guys, welcome to another outstanding episode of the tremendously popular Decentralized Talk Podcast. This is our 7th show in the bag, and we are growing at a fever pitch. That's 39.4% growth rate week over week. It's been incredible, and we appreciate you guys out there. So join us for something that's going to be big, guys. We want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing from Bangalore to our listeners in Bogota. Also, a big shout out to Odessa, Texas for being our largest market by growth for the period. We have an extremely exciting show for you guys today and a very thought-provoking one at that when we focus on the implications of Marxism in the crypto space. So nobody is doing shows like these but us, guys, so tune in to Decentralized Talk for the interesting information, the things beyond just a different person interviewing Vitalik. So our coin spotlight of the week is PetroCoin, and we interviewed Twitter influencer Marxist Crypto, aka Beardhead, to find out about the counterculture movement that has found a niche within the digital asset crowd. Of course, and as always, guys, this is not investing advice. These are just our opinions, so please do your own research when investing in cryptocurrencies. We have a very special guest for you today. It is Marxist Crypto, a.k.a. @Beardhead. That's BEERDHEAD. We're very happy to have him in studio today. We're talking cryptos and socialism and Marxism today. This is an important topic for us because it really shows how diverse the crypto universe really is from an ideological perspective. And it allows us to kind of reach out and find out what are all the different points of view that are available in the crypto space. So without further ado, Mr. @Beardhead, do me a favor and tell me how you got into cryptocurrency and how you wound up kind of falling into Marxism.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Nice to talk to you in person finally. Yeah, I mean, to open it up, I got through college with a Bachelor of Computer Science, and I always kept my ear to the tech space. And I stumbled into Bitcoin for the first time because I had a subscription to Wired.com, which covered one of the earliest, they had one of the earlier exposés on Bitcoin that was published in print, which I was still getting at the time. I think this is maybe 2011. I get onto Mt. Gox, I create an account, but I didn't commit myself to tying checking in. So I never put fiat in and I never got Bitcoin out of Mt. Gox. I didn't lose anything. Needless to say, I kind of watched things from that point on. I kept my ear to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I sat through the first bubble, hadn't put $1 in. And after the blow off top at like $1,100, I started adding at like 700, 600, 500, 400, 300, 200. I bought the whole scale down and I bought the scale up, and I've just kind of been involved ever since. And this just opened the door to Bitcoin as the alpha dog in cryptocurrency. And now what's proliferated into thousands of altcoins and projects that are much more ambitious.
So that's neat. So you've been doing Bitcoin for quite a long time. I think there's a lot of people in Bitcoin right now who have started and got into this thing within the last 6 months to a year. Even though, with that being said, I think people are so passionate right now that they just, they get involved in this thing and then they just get obsessed with it. And then they really kind of begin to just live this kind of like crypto lifestyle, right? And that's the same thing I think that's happened to us, right? We kind of fell in love with cryptocurrency. We were all buddies from college. And then we just talking on the phone one day, say, "Hey man, have you heard this thing called Bitcoin?" And then it kind of blossomed from there.
Yeah.
So tell me,
this is the big value, and this is what people are attracted to. You have direct access to a new innovative platform. You get your chance to kind of decrease your exposure to the old capital system. You can just decrease your exposure to the big banks, and they're trying to rake you for fees on everything. It's something that's very accessible for people that work paycheck to paycheck, for people that are tech savvy, and for people that are kind of looking for, a way to get into investments in a small context.
Yeah, and I think that brings a lot of people into the space as well too. People that can't buy a share of Apple or Google or Netflix or something like that, they can buy some Ripple, or they could buy some Ethereum, or something like that, and that's enticing to them, that they can get into investing. Without looking at the big guns.
So, Beard, I'm going to call you Beard. It's just easier for me.
Yeah, actually, that works good.
So Ripple. So tell me about Ripple. I mean, what is the? Give me the crypto Marxist
centralized cryptocurrency, right?
Yeah, the centralized cryptocurrency. Exactly.
Ripple gives me heartburn because their primary pitch is that they are going to comfy up with as many big banks as they possibly can, and they're going to, like a show dog, they're going to jump through whatever government regulations are imposed on them. Anybody that thinks that you're transacting with Ripple and you have any sense of anonymity, that's a good buy. I think that there's obviously a niche for Ripple, and it's probably hang out in the top 10 forever. But in the sense of principle and the ideology and the concept of crypto, it doesn't jive.
Yep. I think that's the thing about Ripple is I think it's going to be successful because it is, shacking up with all these big banks, but it's really the anti-crypto. Just being a centralized coin, it goes against everything that cryptocurrency is about, really, is, decentralization. So I think it'll still be successful just because of what they're trying to accomplish and how they're going to go about doing it. But yeah, it goes against the whole spectrum of what cryptocurrency is about.
So then to me, that begs the question, so do you invest in it? Because me, as I consider myself a non-ideologue of kind of any ideology, and we've talked about this on another episode, even though I detest what Ripple is and what it stands for, we all have just kind of concurred, right? It's probably going to be around in the top 5. It's probably going to be doing well. So is that still probably a smart investment, even though you hate it? Is it the devil that you know versus the devil you don't? That kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. I mean, and this is where you have there are so many different ways that people approach crypto, and I think still leading the pack is the fact that it's a new investment class where returns can outpace the old market. And I watched Ripple for the entire year of 2017 hang out near 20 cents. I mean, I swear it may as well have been pegged to the quarter for like half of the year last year. And that's when you look at the chart, that was a extended consolidation period. From the technical perspective, a breakout was going to happen. And whether or not you like Ripple, there was a technical play there that people paid off, that paid off for people. And, I may never buy Ripple, but you can always trade technicals.
I like that. I think we're going to start calling it Cripple.
Yeah.
That actually fit really good.
All right. So tell me, Beard, man, what are you buying right now? Tell me what your top coins are.
Yeah. I mean, I took some notes, and this is tough. I mean, I'm heavily in altcoins right now, which means my things are red. But I'm a long-term bull on the entire sector, and I'm looking, Bitcoin and total crypto market cap is going to eventually catch back up to where it maybe hit ATH is at the end of the year. I think is my most promising hold right now is Ethereum Classic. I think if you look at it technically, trading against Bitcoin, it's right at kind of the fringe of breaking out. US dollar value looks okay, and they've got an airdrop coming in Callisto. I think it should do good. I have Bitcoin Cash right now. I look like a total dog with it because it's been bleeding out for a while.
Yeah, it's rough.
But go figure. I'm on the left side of things. Roger Ver is on the right side of things, and I'll give him credit. I like Roger, and I think he's got the right business mindset. And Jihan with Bitmain and some of the other I think that the folks that splintered off and became the Bitcoin Cash, posse, they all have a business mindset, and I think that they're going to sort of toe the line between Bitcoin in a pure sense and Ripple in the business sense. I think they'll find like a happy medium, and that's going to retain value.
The thing that gets me about Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin never needed a PR team or a marketing team, and that's what it seems like Roger Ver is. He's a cheerleader for the coin, and Bitcoin doesn't ever need that. So, I mean, I think Bitcoin Cash has its use case, but I mean, overall, I don't see it just taking the place of Bitcoin. Now, for some quick profits, it could happen, definitely.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I agree with that. The Bitcoin Cash position is sort of near term to midterm trade.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at my true long terms, I'm taking Bitcoin, I'm taking Ethereum, I'm taking Ethereum Classic. Then maybe I'd I've noted here, I would take like a home run shot for something like IOTA or Raiblocks, one of these projects that's trying to take on a totally different spectrum. You're going to have, and these notes here are pretty consistent with kind of, I think what Barry Silbert has been saying continues to resonate more with me. He's kind of suggested that you're going to have maybe 5 or 6 sort of aggregate categories of crypto, and you're going to have 1 or 2 winners, a long timeline. You're going to have a high-speed, small transaction coin that may be Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ripple. It could be any number of those types. You're going to have a privacy coin, which is going to be maybe Bcash, Monero, Bitcoin Private, some of the smaller ones. You're going to have a smart contracts platform coin, which is where you have to make your determination. Is it going to be
a ton of them.
Is it going to be Neo? Is it going to be Classic? Is it going to be Ethereum? And I think that's really started to resonate with me. It makes me a little bit more bearish on all cap altcoins, and we'll just see where things play. But Bitcoin Cash is going to have to fight for the high volume, low fees. It's going to be tough to truly try and undermine Bitcoin in the way that they have.
Yeah.
The brand integrity with Bitcoin is too strong.
It really is.
Yeah. Plus, I think with Bitcoin, you have the potential for all of those wrapped into one, right? So every
totally.
advance in Bitcoin, you're looking for an increase in speed, or you're looking for an increase in usability. Every advance in Bitcoin, now we're already looking at implementation of smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain. So it is. That's a really cool idea to think that there's basically kind of a top 5 or like a battle kind of within each category to specialize in a certain attribute for a coin or token, and be able to kind of see who rises to the top. That's going to be neat over the course of the next couple of years. Like I've always been saying, this entire thing is in its infancy, right? Even though, so you were talking about being involved in Bitcoin 5 years ago, I would say, man, that thing was like a sperm.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's, for somebody to have a Coinbase account right now, you're still 99.99% ahead of the majority of the population.
Exactly.
Without a doubt.
It's really easy to fall into a bubble where everyone else that you interact with knows what crypto is, and then you feel like, oh shit, I'm late to the game.
Yep.
In reality, just being here right now is still being very early. And this means that being patient, trusting sort of like, what is your foundation? We all put in an X amount of capital. Maybe you're down right now. Maybe you're still up. The reality of it is that this is still a multi-year, this is a evolution of a multi-year technology.
Yeah, definitely. I think people forget that as, because you can get so much profit in such a short amount of time. People forget that really we're years out of real big time growth.
Sure.
This isn't something that just happens in a month or 3 months or a year.
Yeah, and we haven't seen, in my opinion, if we look at Bitcoin at its conception, we don't know who Satoshi Nakamoto is, but we know who some of the earliest actors in the blockchain are. We know that these guys are leaders in the cryptography realm of that academic field. We know that these guys are left-leaning academics. We know that they're critical of monetary policy, corruption of government, corruption of regulatory agencies. These guys watched the economy explode in 2007 and 2008. The response was that you have this populist unrest, and the other response is that you have the Bitcoin white paper, which is written as sort of a way to totally change how money works, how we interact with each other on a asset to asset exchange. And they envisioned a way to just cut the banks out of it. You cut the central bankers out of it. You cut the potentially corrupted regulatory agencies out of it. You have a totally different system where there is no trust in a single entity. So that's Bitcoin's conception. I think Bitcoin's most interesting use case is going to be how it responds as a store of value during a hyperinflationary phase. We've seen currencies in Greece destabilize and devalue. We see volatility with Venezuela right now, and watching how capital flows in and out of cryptocurrency during fiat volatility is something that we haven't really seen yet at a large scale.
All right. So what do you think? So speaking on the change in Bitcoin as a hedge against inflation. So we just saw two of the largest drops in the United States stock market. We saw people, I guess, fleeing from gold and going into crypto. Is that in your opinion, is that what we're seeing? Or why didn't we see? Because we've always pitched Bitcoin as the anti-inflation response instead of gold.
Yeah,
right? It used to always be gold, so now it used to be the hedge. But when the stock market dropped, for me, I was pretty shocked because I would have bet everything that would have seen just a big rocket ship in the Bitcoin price, but it actually kind of floated steady.
Yeah, I think this is only going to make sense when we look back at things in the year 2018 in its entirety, because you have to consider the fact that the stock market and Bitcoin have been completely uncorrelated, give or take, for the entirety of Bitcoin's existence. The blow off top that Bitcoin just went through to move from 5 to 10 to 20K sort of, I think, invalidates any very contemporary correlations of it to the stock market. So what we're going to see is that people who just jumped in December.
So you don't think they're tied together at all?
I don't think that the current environment is a good spot to try and look for those correlations. I think that over the long timeline, I think Bitcoin still has to consolidate here. I mean, we can, I think we're going to bounce around. We may hit a bottom at 5K. We may see some we may see some short-term tops above 15 again. But the reality of it is that we're going to have to consolidate a while. Over that course of time, the stock market is going to have to figure out where it's going. Because if you take a look at the stock market on technical terms, it's overbought as shit. And, whether people want to admit it or not, you can only drive the price of Facebook up so high or Walmart up so high before people look in the mirror and they say, what the hell is this valuation based on?
Which is so funny to me, because everybody that I talk to about cryptocurrency who hasn't done any research, that's their first argument. It drives me insane. The very first thing out of somebody's mouth is, well, the dollar is backed by gold. Well, no, it's not, first of all.
Yeah, right.
And cryptocurrency isn't backed by anything. It doesn't need to be backed by anything. There's a limited supply of them. And
well, what about Tether? Reproduced. Are we discounting Tether now?
Totally. Tether. No, I mean, the cryptocurrency is backed by something. And Andreas, I think, created one of the better metaphors for it. The pyramids in Egypt are maybe one of the most primitive forms of a proof of work algorithm, or a proof of work, the substance of proof of work. They showed up there. We know that weighs 1 billion tons. We know that it takes a lot of energy to create the pyramids. proof of work with Bitcoin is that we have the entire ledger of every transaction that ever happened, verified, immutable, and unquestionable. And so if all you have to do is be able to think abstractly and take pyramids of Giza, put them onto the public ledger in the Bitcoin platform, and that's your proof of work. That's the
but
value.
You got to admit that ancient aliens did not build Bitcoin, and they definitely did build the pyramids.
It's a great meme, but I'm just not an alien person yet.
Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Ancient astronaut theorists contend.
We've been, some of the folks in the burst coin world, we've memed about the aliens, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
I'm waiting.
There is a theory out there that aliens created Bitcoin. I mean, I think we discovered for a fact it was last week. It was definitely artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
Hell, after last week, I'm convinced. I got everybody in my house terrified of Sophia now.
My other favorite Bitcoin, conception theory is that it's CIA plug or it's
NSA
or that it's a big bank plug or an NSA plug,
yeah.
Which I don't know. I mean, I can go along with that.
Yeah,
my assumption, I would assume that it was a person, and he's dead at this point. That's just my guess.
Hal Finney, rest in peace. He is, I think, one of the most. I would put him at the top of the odds that he was I think Satoshi is a pseudonym for maybe a couple people.
Yeah.
I don't think it's one person.
Yeah.
I feel like Satoshi Nakamoto has to be a code. I know it's kind of getting off topic, but I just want to throw this out here. It's maybe the whiskey talking, but Satoshi Nakamoto, the name, it just sounds like too perfectly like caricature of like a Japanese name. And it seems like this is steeped in cryptology and code and puzzles and solving and math, and it just seems like the name is an anagram for something or something. So this is a side note, but
we should all be honest about the fact that whoever conceived Satoshi Nakamoto was a genius.
Oh yeah.
Unlike let's say Ethereum with Vitalik or Charlie Lee and Litecoin, Roger and Cash, there is a massive bottleneck vulnerability when you have a face to a coin or a face to a project. And Bitcoin would have struggled significantly to get to where it is today if there was some individual that could be pigeonholed, waterboarded,
look at WikiLeaks.
Would have been here.
Exactly. WikiLeaks, great example.
I mean, all of a sudden they just pull you out of your house and they say you're a rapist, and then and then you go to prison and you don't get a trial, and
right.
You're imprisoned, basically not in a prison technically. I say that often, that it's one of the smartest parts about Bitcoin is that they didn't have a person attached to the head of this, because the easiest way to attack something is to attack it just directly at the head, at its most centralized point. And
sure.
So it's really just brilliant that they didn't even the identity of the creator is decentralized. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's staying power. It's when you look at a long timeline, 50 years from now, the creator of Bitcoin won't have died. Roger Ver may or may not be dead in 50 years. Vitalik. It's really goofy to look at a timeline like that, but with Bitcoin, you'll never have to deal with that type of a milestone, albeit a shitty milestone. But
man, I gotta say,
will never die.
I'm a pretty big Trump supporter personally, and consider myself to be a libertarian personally. But I like you, man. It's pretty cool.
Like I said, I'm a reformed libertarian. I mean, I had a Ron Paul 2012 T-shirt, and I was down with audit the Fed then. I'm down with audit the Fed until we audit the Fed. But I flipped my Ron Paul 2012 shirt, and then I spray painted Bernie 2016 on it this last go around, because Bernie is also a guy that called to audit the Fed. Because both sides of the political aisle, there are individuals that act outside of the. They're not sheep,
Exactly.
The majority of Democrats and Republicans are sheep that are herded pressured into doing what the incumbent powers want to have done.
Or the wolves.
A guy like Bernie is balanced by a guy like Ron Paul at every turn. It's just that those guys they rarely get to exercise what they'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, when they have chances, it gets, stolen from them. So
tell me about, speaking of Bernie, I looked everywhere to try to prepare for this interview. How does Bernie Sanders feel about cryptocurrency? And I saw a lot of people talking about it, but I couldn't see anywhere where he really technically addressed it. And I don't know if you've been able to find more research or something. I don't know how Bernie feels. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there listening that would like to know, like, what's his official position on crypto?
Yeah, I tried. I also tried to dig something up, and this was like trying to find out who's Satoshi Nakamoto. But what I did do is I took some notes on what I would speculate Bernie's positions on crypto are. I think leading, you have to look at consumer protection, which means that he's going to approach this the way that we saw some of the other congressmen, that in the recent CFTC hearing. I think you have to respect the fact that consumer protections are important, because otherwise fraud and scamming will proliferate in an unregulated market. Now, I'm not an absolute free market person. I like the concept, but to keep social cohesion in America, the political class has to keep a degree of protections around its citizens and their money. And I think that's where consumer protections come in. That would be where I'd see Bernie approaching crypto. From like the more abstract perspective, he'd be looking at distribution of tokens. I think that's totally absurd. 99% of the Ripple whatever coins are taken by the 1%. I don't think it works with cryptocurrency because token distribution has to be global, and I don't think it scales out politically.
Okay, so that brings up what I see traditionally as a conflict, which is the Marxist socialist ideology of a highly centralized, one unified government that rules outward, and a decentralized, highly individualized, smallest form of ownership model in cryptocurrency. And I just wanted you to speak on that for a second too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of tried to figure out what the most boiled down, points of view here are. And I looked in the Communist Manifesto, and I think what is one of the better, verses, if we're going to try and make this into a Bible. The verse goes that distribution will be based on contribution. And so that means that you have to be willing to put into the system some amount of labor to get something out. And in cryptocurrency, I think that makes sense. And I think that that's actually how the mining algorithms are written. It doesn't matter if I have my GPUs running in Ohio, Thailand, or Antarctica. The compensation will be equal based on the amount of value that I put back into the system. That's an extremely Marxist point of view.
That is very true.
And I should specifically state that that's the equivalent of a ubiquitous fair labor contract. It doesn't matter where you're mining from. It only matters the value of your contribution to the system. That's where you get your compensation from. A lot of people, I don't think, have thought of the Bitcoin mining reward system that way yet. And we're going to run into it. Because on the flip side, if I was to try and make the metaphor on the other end of the spectrum, serving a cup of coffee, give or take gas station quality, right? You can go find gas station clerks in Thailand, Europe, and Texas. And the wage that they're going to be paid to serve somebody a cup of coffee is going to be grossly different, despite the fact that, give or take, their value that they put into the system is about the same. And so that means that from that point on, you have to acknowledge the fact that the labor contract is different for the coffee service versus for the Bitcoin mining service.
That's very interesting. So tell me, from a Marxist perspective, nationalization, would you be an advocate for the nationalization of Bitcoin or the nationalization of any cryptocurrency?
Yeah, it will happen, but I don't think that it will happen successfully. And I kind of made a note about this. I think that what we will see happen will be local, regional, and even possibly national Bitcoin mining services or mining cooperatives. It wouldn't surprise me if somewhere like Ithaca, New York, decided to launch a municipal Bitcoin mining farm. And then,
yeah, I could see Cornell doing that.
Yeah, like the dudes at Cornell, and it's a great city. I've been there, and they're one of the first areas in the country that runs a collective solar farm. And so I think that sets them up to maybe be the first to run a collective Bitcoin farm. That said, I don't think nationalized coins are gonna take off. They will happen, but I don't think that they'll attract anybody because, in all intents and purposes, they're no different than paper or fiat.
What I was wondering is just what your view on, cryptocurrencies in a whole, because one currency is going to rule them all eventually. And, I was just curious if you think mass adoption is actually possible, if you take, say, Petrocoin into account, and, can it be successful? Not only just if a government issues it, but just in general, do you think mass adoption is really possible, that we'll actually use this instead of fiat currency in the future?
For cryptocurrency, for a stateless currency, we should call it. The future of crypto would be a stateless currency that's ubiquitous. Governments would have to decompose, and the EU would have to decompose. The control of the US dollar would decompose. It's a very unlikely future, but that's, I think, the only precondition that would set up a really ubiquitous cryptocurrency world. Now, that said, what is currently effectively a secondary market, can a secondary market in cryptocurrency exist and continue to grow? Absolutely, and it will. All you've got to do is look at a market like marijuana in the United States. The Trump administration has tried to take a couple steps backwards. The Obama administration took maybe a step forward.
I like to attribute that to Mike Pence, just for the record.
Jeff Sessions, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what those I don't know what they're smoking, but I know that they're not smoking marijuana.
Is that salvia?
Sure. I raised that point because the marijuana industry and just cold cash, it's probably like 10 to maybe $100 billion in the States where it's illegal.
Yeah.
And that's going to continue to grow. And I think Bitcoin and cryptocurrency can follow that type of trajectory where it may never take the top spot, but it can grow within a confined area.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's kind of how I see it too. I think global mass adoption, I mean, it would take an economic collapse on a global scale like we've never seen. But I do think it has an investment space that can earn good market capitalization, because I mean, as we see it now, if you just compare it to gold or any traditional stock market, it's just it's chump change, so it has plenty of room to grow, but something extreme would have to happen for, mass adoption to really take place.
Yeah. And I think you have, you mentioned gold, and I think it was the Mark Cuban or Barry Silbert maybe it's the Winklevosses saying that if cryptocurrency's market cap can bite into just 5% of what gold is right now, you're looking at a four-banger for everything.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
That you're looking at, let's say, 400 billion right now to like 2-point-something trillion.
That's the thing.
I see that as inevitable.
Yeah, people like to say, Bitcoin's in such a bubble because it was $20,000. It can't go up anymore. But when you compare it to something like gold, then you really see how small of a market it really is compared to something like that's been around so long like that.
Sure, and take a look at the value of gold post Bretton Woods. It's for all intents and purposes a bubble that had a blow off top at like $1,500 or $1,600 an ounce, and now it's down at about $1,200 an ounce. And it can correct further to the downside if its capitalization bleeds out into cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But the scariest thing to me about gold recently is that, again, once we had that large dip in the stock market recently, 2 in a row, gold's price didn't change either, which is weird. I mean, my entire life, everywhere I can look back, when there's a stock market crash, there's a big influx in the price of gold. And when the stock market is booming, that's when gold is really cheap. And then another thing that's weird to me is that currently the gold price is $1,200 right now, $1,300. That's not cheap. That's not cheap gold. So I don't understand. The stock market is up higher than it's ever been in history, like tenfold. It's like through the Obama administration and now into the Trump administration, it continues to grow and grow and grow, hit new record highs. And gold is for some reason staying high. I don't understand that.
Yeah. So, and I should add some detail here as something-year-old in 2008, 2009, making my first money as a professional. I started to get into the stocks at the freaking bottom of the barrel in 2009, 2010. And in those years, all you had to do was throw money at blue chips or at any stock that was publicly traded.
Right, Citibank was $4.
Just hold it, HODL. And I was holding Facebook shares at 25, Tesla shares at 25, Green Mountain Coffee at 20. Crazy stuff was happening then because shit had just been decimated. And gold on the flip side, that's when gold had its blow off top, because that's how a counter correlated asset works. When you look at it now, gold has moved up with this, kind of stayed flat. But as the stock market moves up, gold just sits here at the 1,200 zone. And the last time that you saw a good action in the gold market was with the Brexit vote. And I watched that happen. Gold doubled, or at least the shares, the traded shares that I watched gold for, Anglo Gold, they doubled from 10 to 20 something before retracting on Brexit news, which we're looking at. I think that's about 2 years ago now, 2016. So we're gonna see what happens. Gold has a big market cap. The brick and mortar market is the shit, and crypto is still let's say 500 billion. There's a lot of room for money to move in one direction.
I like cryptocurrency and land. Benjamin Franklin said, I invest in land because they're not making any more of it, which is something very similar that you could apply to Bitcoin.
I'd like to know, Beard, what's your take on old Petrocoin? I mean, do you think it's going to help the Venezuelan people? Do you think?
And do me a favor, just for the audience, because Petrocoin is super new. Give a quick background on Petrocoin, what it is, and that for us, please.
So I took a look at the Petrocoin, and this is going to be this is a Venezuelan sovereign cryptocurrency that's going to be it will be correlated to the Venezuelan national, fossil fuel oil reserves. Right now they're sitting on like 300 billion barrels. The supply of Petrocoins is going to be capped at 100 million. And they're going to open trading at about the spot barrel, which right now looks like 60 a barrel. This looks dangerous. I think the only individuals on the planet that can be looking at this and not seeing a crisis are the Venezuelans, because the way that Maduro and the Venezuelans have structured this thing, the citizens in that country have an advantage over everyone else. This is, take a look at U.S. sanctions. Take a look at the fact that Venezuela competes against OPEC. OPEC can just fucking run the pumps and devalue the value of a barrel of oil from 60 back to 40. There's just too many factors that can drive this coin in the wrong direction.
So, not a Petro fan.
Not a Petro fan. A fan of the idea.
They came out.
The idea.
or the president came out just recently and said he was going to do petro gold now.
Yeah.
Petro cash.
I mean, this
That's
is risky. So, and from the Marxist, leftist perspective here, Cuba fought its fight. They tried to fight against U.S. imperial hegemony. They did okay. Fidel punched his card, and then the follow-up regime said, okay, we can open the doors. Let's get the American vacation industry down here. That's fine. Venezuela and Maduro right now are still trying to strong-arm U.S. capitalist interest. I just don't see any reason to get involved there. I mean, and beyond that, I'm an environmentalist. Carbon pollution is a problem. It doesn't make sense to be investing in fossil fuel.
Awesome.
I mean, I'm looking for 2018 might not be exciting. I hate to say it.
I agree.
But what that does do is it weeds out folks that were just trying to make quick money.
Yep.
The other thing that I think needs to happen is ICOs and some of the folks that jumped in on the development side for quick money, they're going to get weeded out, because whoever it was that spawned shit ICO coin got office space in some big metro and said they're going to change the world.
Yeah.
That was when Bitcoin was 14,000 a coin, and or Ethereum was above $1,000. They got all these tokens. That was the life. But I think if we consolidate for a while, those projects are going to fall off the map. And
I think 90% of these ICOs will fall off the map. I think so many of them, they have great ideas, don't get me wrong, but they don't actually have the manpower or just the know-how. I think a lot of them just have grand schemes and they really don't know how to implement them. No, I think 90% of these ICOs are going to fall off. But, those top 10 that are probably around right now, top 20 maybe, they're going to stick around for the long run. And, the market's not going anywhere. That's for sure.
Yeah. The reality of this is that everyone, we had a euphoria in December. Now the futures contracts are closing on a regular basis. This is the first year that we're going to see institutional money interacting with the cryptocurrency market cap.
Yeah.
And we're not going to see the volatility that we had in 2017.
True. And I think our kind of focus today was about just the social government aspect of cryptocurrencies. But, if we really get into the trading aspect, I think this is one of the best things that could happen to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is just a stable sideways trend of trading for 2018. That would be healthy for the market instead of the just crazy rise that we saw at the end of the year. Now that might happen at the end of the year 2018 again. I really think it might. But if we could see just sideways trading, I think that would be healthier for the market than seeing this, insane rise.
Yeah, and what you're talking, what that is that's consolidation. And if you look at anything from a technical perspective, you have bullish cycles, bearish cycles, and consolidation cycles. You can't say anything else about 2017 except for that it was one of the most bullish years for any asset in history. And so what else can we pray for except for a good, we've already run down a bearish cycle. We can go down lower, but what we need to do is consolidate.
Exactly.
And, the idea, the shitcoin scratch cards are done. You're not just going to jump on Binance and pick a 70% gain tomorrow and then pick a 40% gain the next day. That stuff's probably over with.
You telling me my Tron's not going to get my Lambo?
That guy, that look that Justin had, and he still has that look. That was the winner. I mean, that was it.
I'm still betting on Beastcoin. Yeah. So Beard, man, we came up with an idea for Beastcoin. It was going to be a total shitcoin ICO. It's going to be based on the mark of the beast. and it's going to we're going to put 666,666,666 in supply. And just kind of usher in that.
Do they have Jesus
the
coin?
end of time.
There's got to be a bit.
That's what I'm saying. There's Jesus coin.
One of my favorite projects, and it's still off the radar because it's got an environmental pitch. But the unique thing about the lead engineer and the lead developer in Burst Coin is Rico 666, and Burst Coin right now runs on a hard drive network. And it's the only coin that runs on a hard drive based network. You have to attach your Seagate 8 terabyte drive to the network. Burst Coin commands all 8 terabytes. It fills all 8 terabytes with data. And you've got essentially a massive Keno board. The network is maintained on lotteries being drawn out of that hard drive space. And if you have the data that has the solution, you get rewarded with Burst. Similar to the Bitcoin mining algorithm, in so much as Bitcoin is driven by processing power, Burst Coin is driven by having the largest volume of hard drive space. So if you want to come play ball with Burst, you have to put terabytes out there and say, fill that up with the network data, and we'll see if I have winners. It's a very interesting system.
That is interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Also, you have to have black fingernail polish.
Well, and we have, Burst had Burst had an interesting character. This guy in Montreal who, nonetheless created tension in the Burst Coin world, and, they're trying to work it, they're trying to work through that. Now they have a lot more interest in Europe and some good German devs and some good German folks, and more nodes are popping up in Europe. So it'll be an interesting coin to watch. But the thing with Burst and with a lot of other projects that fall into nuance, I have an approach where I look at how many exchanges is a coin available on, and that I think that drives the stability for a coin, but it also drives its ability to break out. Burst, unfortunately, is only traded on Bittrex. It's kind of a legacy coin. It's like Vertcoin. Vertcoin's been on Bittrex for like 5 or 6 years. Burst has been on Bittrex for 5 or 6 years. Whereas if you look at Binance, the whole entire fucking exchange is only like a year old. So you have these different realms that these projects operate in. Yeah, we're going to see if they get on some new exchanges. I'll keep my eyes out on some of the Binance projects. I like IOTA. I didn't mention much about it, but they're so ambitious and they have such a forward-looking approach to where they think a decentralized, innovative platform can kind of live, that it's hard not to put some money in there and just forget about it.
Yeah. No, I think IOTA is definitely one of those long-term investments, but the Internet of Things, it's already happening, and it's just going to get more and more and more. And the fact that they're really trying to do something separate from blockchain, with the Tangle network, it's just really innovative. I love IOTA. I don't think it's something that you're going to put your money in and then next month you're going to see 300% increase or anything like that. But it's something to definitely hang on to for a long time.
Yeah.
Well, and it's already got a use case, or it's already implemented in making transactions.
They're rolling it out. I think IOTA's big moment here is going to be when they get the Trinity wallet out. They've had challenges with the wallet, which the network requires users on the sending and receiving side to generate new addresses on every transaction.
Yep.
That's not manually scalable. That has to be an automated feature, and Trinity is supposed to be that automated feature. You're going to take that project is going to go to the next level whenever they roll out Trinity. In the meantime, you're just kind of sitting on your hands. You have to say, look, and this is how the majority of these projects are. You can't be speculating on them. You have to look at fundamentals, and you have to be willing to let some time expire. The speed of software engineering, and I'm in the industry, speed of software engineering is the 80-20 conundrum. Everybody can get to about 80% complete Then when the project manager shows up, you've got 20% left, and it may take just as long as it took to get to the first 80%, because it's in that last 20% that you iron out the details that can create
all the finances, and
you can create an existential crisis if you don't get that final bit of the project done. That's
the story of my life. The 80-20 rule.
80-20 rule. I mean, that's how everyone got through college. Hang out for 80% of the time, and then you got to bust your ass for 20.
Oh, I thought it was, yeah. Yep, that's that sounds about right.
I spent my college career. I spent 80% of the time at the bar, and then
I think mine was 80% at the bar and 20% failing.
I was going to say it wasn't really 80. It was more like 99% at the bar and 1%.
I mean, it's
recovering.
It's a good paycheck budget too. 80% beer, 20% for the rest of the stuff that you need to consume.
Four Locos.
Four Locos.
Four Locos is 80% too much loco for me.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Beard Man, look, we really appreciate you coming on the show today. It was it's always a gamble when you interview somebody from the Twitter sphere. I think you really showed up. You really brought your A game today. We appreciate having you on. We appreciate your perspective. We hope to have you on in the future again. We'll see how this Bitcoin experiment plays out into the future. And we'd love to kind of reconnect with you here in a couple of months down the road and see where we're at and where things are going.
Yeah, we'll try it again. Same deal.
Sure.
We'll talk again maybe in a month or two or something.
All righty. Thanks again. We appreciate Marxist Crypto, a.k.a. Beardhead, for joining us today. You can catch him at Beardhead on Twitter, and you can catch us at DTalk Podcast. Now it's time for the 3-on-3 Fast Break. All righty. So tell me about Proppy Coin.
Yeah. Okay, so Proppy is a token aimed at the real estate industry. So basically what they're trying to do is create a property real estate marketplace that can be done all online, and uses smart contracts to complete the real estate transaction from beginning to end. So it can take care of the entire deed process and all the tax information, all that stuff through smart contracts. And they already have a working product too. So you can go on Propy.com, Propy.com, and view houses and buy houses with their tokens and everything. So they already have a working product. I don't know if I see it as a great investment right now, but they are one of the few tokens that has a working product in a short amount of time. So yeah, I like Propy.
Very interesting. Prater, tell me about BlockTix.
All right, so my 3-on-3 Fast Break is BlockTix. And so, the website is blocktix.io. They got a market cap of 25 million, a circulating supply of 40 million, and a total supply of 62 million. Which, first off, I like that in general. They've got pretty low circulating supply, pretty low market cap. So, there's not a billion of them. There's definitely, some room for that to go up and quickly if they get a use case and start to get utilized. So what is BlockTix? So BlockTix is basically trying to take over the online ticketing market. You got Ticketmaster, StubHub, all these other ones that are charging an exorbitant amount of fees to basically handle person to person and, tickets from, for different shows and whatnot. So they are trying to decentralize that, basically cut out the fees, cut out the middleman. So, the vendor, the artist, whoever can, go on there, create their event, and then sell it directly to the consumer, and basically cut out the fees. It's utilizing the Ethereum-based blockchain. So, it's built, smart contracts are built in there to verify that your tickets are not counterfeited. It allows for that level of security, with the tickets just to verify their validity. So the CEO is Rob Shins. They got a pretty solid team. He has been with, Batcoin and Shadow Cash in the past. And one of their advisors is actually Randy Jackson as well. So I don't know. They've got an interesting concept. I definitely think that, you know, if they can get some interest from some people, it could definitely be an interesting token. But that being said, what I don't like is I did not see a white paper on their page. So definitely check this one out. You know, give it a look. I think it's 62 cents right now. It could be an interesting one in the future for sure. But I would definitely keep an eye on it for a while before anything.
I don't know about you guys, but I hate those companies, StubHub and Ticketmaster and all those companies who basically the artist pays the venue pays the artist, and then to basically sell out, and then StubHub or Ticketmaster, they come in and they buy out almost the entire venue, and then just mark up the price for actual consumers. I don't know. It just seems just messed up that's allowed. So I'm against the whole thing. So maybe this BlockTix is the answer. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. So BlockTix is kind of in the same mold as my 3-on-3 fast break pick. It's singular DTV, and the coin symbol is actually SNGLS, so singles. So when you're buying them, you're buying singles, which is pretty neat. So the website is singulardtv.com. It's got an $82 million market cap and a $600 million circulating supply and a total supply of right at about 1 billion. So Singular DTV, it's a blockchain entertainment studio laying the foundation for a decentralized entertainment industry, according to their website. So that's directly from their website. So what they're doing is they're building the future of rights management. So this is probably going to mean no more pirating, ironically, guys. So if they're building the future,
I don't like that.
yeah, exactly. I mean, so the crypto space is built on, a foundation of all kinds of tech people who have no intention of paying for anything that can be converted into media at any point in time. And so the real kind of irony here for me is that through things like this BlockTix and through Singular DTV, they're going to put this technology on a blockchain. So just imagine if to download or access a particularly song or a movie that you wanted to watch, you had to exchange like a private key. And that was the only way that you could access it. So I know people like Garth Brooks, right, would really, really, really be into this because they are extremely, extremely private about their content. They don't let it anywhere. You try to go on YouTube right now and look for a Garth Brooks video, it ain't there. Believe me, I've tried. It's going to be neat. So they're doing it for project funding. They're doing it on P2P distribution. They're going to put everything on the blockchain and make sure that a dollar in is a dollar out. It's going to be great for the entertainers, and they've actually got some pretty semi-famous people on board right now. They got Grammatic, who's had a couple of top 20 hits, none of which you'd probably ever recognize unless you're into the techno dance scene, which, as you just heard by my Garth Brooks information, I am not. As well as they have Scandal's Joe Morton. I don't watch Scandal either, so I guess I'm out of touch with this one. But it looks like a pretty cool coin, and they got some semi-famous people behind it. And interesting in terms of keeping the money from into the content creator's pocket. Pretty neat.
It's a big thing right now with piracy and everything. So yeah, that's definitely a big industry for sure.
Awesome, guys. Now it's time for our coin spotlight. Today we're doing Petro coin, the Venezuelan government coin, in keeping with our socialist-themed show today. Prater, give me the basics of Petro coin.
All right. So Petro coin was launched in February 2008. So this month it was launched, and it's a cryptocurrency that was developed by the Venezuelan government. It's claimed to be backed by the country's oil and mineral reserves. So, take that at what you will. It's intended to supplement Venezuela's basically failing currency. The
Yeah, I want
down there
I want to know how they know how much they're talking about how much oil they have in the ground. Every time I hear the United States talking about how much oil we have in the ground, it's they find a new shale deposit and it's more. So then my question is, does that become deflationary for the currency? If all of a sudden, if they hit like a huge pocket, and they're like, oh shit, it turns out that we actually have like 20 times more than we thought. So your petro coin is not going to be worth that much.
Yeah. I mean, they're using the oil like to peg the token, so it's not, it's
how much a barrel of oil.
Yeah, 1 barrel of oil.
But I see what you're saying.
Well, yeah, that makes sense if they find more oil.
Maybe they know exactly how much oil they have. Maybe they already pumped it all.
Dude, if they know exactly how much oil they have, they're in a great spot.
The government there, I mean, most people know, is just really screwed things up. It's said by the end of 2018, the Bolivar should be inflated 13,000%. I mean, that's like Bitcoin number for a national currency. That's insane.
Negative Bitcoin.
Yeah, in the wrong way, obviously, but
maybe there's an inverse relationship between Bitcoin and the Bolivar.
Yeah, we just cracked the code, guys. We just cracked the code. Okay, so my problem with Petrocoin is if the government was able to screw up their own economy this bad, why are we trusting them with a new currency, thinking that's going to fix everybody's problems and, all of a sudden they're going to be prosperous again? I think they've already proven themselves to be corrupt and fail. I don't understand why we're even putting value in this currency that's backed by the oil, because they're so corrupt. How can you trust them?
Well, exactly. Who wants to trust a blockchain with the Venezuelan government? I mean, if they really want to, and Prater, I think we talked about this in the very first episode of Decentralized Talk. If the Venezuelan government really wanted their country to have an opportunity to buy into something that was really safe and secure in a blockchain that they could believe in, then why wouldn't they just incentivize them to buy Bitcoin? It's already there. It's already built. You don't have to have a specialized government coin. You just tell them to buy Ethereum or Bitcoin, or tell them, well, hey, we're going to start accepting cryptocurrencies of 1, 2, and 3 XYZ at our local libraries or whatever government entities they have control over.
Well, because they have less control over Bitcoin. They have control over Petrocoin, basically.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's the thing. If they don't want to use Bitcoin, because then they wouldn't be able to manipulate it to their advantage, and they wouldn't be able to get through U.S. sanctions and regulations like they're trying to do with Petrocoin. I mean, they could. Okay, they could, but they couldn't control it.
Yeah.
So is the blockchain going to be public, or is this going to be like a private blockchain? I don't understand. The whole thing doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, there was a little bit of controversy behind this too. I guess it would be a public blockchain if it's just a token on another blockchain. If it's not a chain itself, from what I understand. It's just going to be like an ERC20 token from Ethereum, or a token on NEM or NEM. So as far as my understanding, it's not actually a chain itself. It's just basically like a utility token.
Yeah, and for everybody out there, if it seems like we don't know a whole lot about Petrocoin, it's because there's not a lot of information about Petrocoin out there, one. And two, there's a lot of conflicting information about Petrocoin. The website from the website link from coinmarketcap.com is non-existent. It just goes to basically a page that requires you to get all kind of extra plugins.
Viruses.
Yeah. And then actually it literally directed me to dictionary.com after that when I backed out of it.
Sketchy.
And I mean, the American government has warned too that investing in Petrocoin as a U.S. citizen, they didn't say illegal, but it could go against the OPEC agreement or whatever somehow.
Yeah, and Marco Rubio actually came out the other day and was talking about Petro, and he said because of how corrupt their government is.
Is that the guy from Hook?
Marco Rubio?
Oh, that's Rufio. Never mind. Rufio. Take it back. Rufio. All right, scratch that.
But he said that because of how corrupt the government is in Venezuela, that all cryptocurrencies are dangerous because bad people can use them without fear of being caught. But he said especially Petro, because of how their government works.
Yeah, so that makes me wonder, like, what if, Venezuela is a country that we have poor relations with, I guess is probably the nicest way to say it. But what if something like an Al Qaeda or something like that, or a group or like a Taliban, a group that literally we were at war against, created a chain? Osama coin, got that Bin Laden coin.
They totally could. I mean,
and then if you invested in it, then are you, are you supporting terrorism? And then you're subject to,
that's a wormhole, Peter. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 1.7 million Bin Laden coins right now, so I'm hoping they're going to the moon.
I have a feeling they're going to a cave in Afghanistan.
Yeah. And okay, so there's an opposition party in Venezuela. They've stated that what the government's trying to do is actually illegal by their constitution because they're using the nation's oil reserves. They're selling the oil reserves, basically. And that's in their constitution, that's illegal. Basically, what the opposition party says is they're not necessarily creating another currency. They're basically just forward selling their oil. They're just selling oil by people buying these cryptocurrencies. So there's a lot of controversy about Petrocoin. And it's not something I would get into, even if it's legal or legal in the U.S. I don't even know, but it's not something I would really want to mess around with. And I don't think it's gonna. I just feel bad for the Venezuelan people because I don't think it's gonna work to their advantage. But at the same time, it is good for the market. Just having controversy in the market is good for the market. So the more people hear about things like this,
yeah, it's good for crypto. I think that's a good point. It's good for crypto.
What's the saying?
All publicity is good publicity. Yeah, but we had enough problems with crypto being tied to the dark web, and now we're going to deal with cryptocurrencies tied to bread lines, bread truck lines, and corrupt governments. It's again. So this goes back to it's any difference.
Tied to corrupt governments. There's no way around that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think anytime somebody tells me that they're like, cryptocurrencies are used to buy drugs, I'm like, you mean like the dollar?
Are you paying for your crack cocaine with a credit card? No.
Yeah, always their face is the best part after that. Well,
I use PayPal.
I typically write a check for my crack.
Well, sounds like the Petro coin could possibly be going down. Much like my coin investments of the week.
Well, every week. If it makes you feel any better, none of us have broken even yet. But I think our coin of the week in this little bear market that we're in, I think, honestly, it's just a good argument for hodling. Because this shows how dangerous trading can be when you hit a bear market or something like that. Now, if you're doing day trading, you could make some quick profits. But I think what this shows on a weekly basis is if some of these coins, if we would have just bought them in the first week and held on to them, they probably would have been up. But, buying a different coin every week and then selling it after that week, I think it's just a good case for buying and hodling longer term.
It's also a good case to show how terrible we are at swing trading.
Yeah, this is pretty bad. Even the hodl is pretty brutal. Do not take our investment advice. Yeah. All right, yeah. So this week was a little bit different. So what we did is we took our weekly totals. $600 invested. Now we're at week 6. And we did a hodl total. And so the hodl total is basically each individual coin that we started with from our original buy points. What would it be like today based on today's market prices had we kept them to today? Now, keep in mind, today is Sunday when we're doing the record here. So it's actually looking pretty shitty out there. It's pretty red. So just give us some slack. Also, I'm very sad to report I have some pretty bummer news. I have apparently fallen out of first place.
Wah, wah, wah.
And old Hesto has risen into the number 1 spot. Prater is still banging out last place by almost $100.
I'm getting demolished.
So it is thanks to me and Prater had some pretty significant losses over the last 2 weeks, 20 and 30% losses. And Hesto played it smart. He picked Bitcoin, stayed right down the middle, and just kind of slightly rose to the top. He's beating me by $7 right now. So I'm at $551.54 out of 600. Hesto is in the lead at $558.08, and Prater rounding out the bottom at $506.23 out of a $600 investment on the week. From the HODL chart, I'm way down in last place, $466.22, and Hesto is way up at $502.87. Prater is right there in the middle, $474.85. Literally none of us making a profit yet. So.
Oh, I'm almost there.
I'm almost breaking even. He's on the rise. Obviously, I'm not that stoked about this.
I'm gonna get my 200% increase this week, and then I'll be in the green.
Yes, those are the types of things that I'm looking for. All right, so Prater, tell me, what's your coin for this week?
I picked IOTA this week. My strategy of the most down coin last week didn't work out very well, so I'm going with a new strategy. The coin that Heston picked in the past. Started off his turnaround, so hopefully it'll turn me around here too. Plus, it's down a little bit. It was up $2.07, just a week or so ago. So I think we may hopefully see that level again here by next Sunday and get me back in this race, because I am sucking right now.
All right, Hesto, what'd you pick?
I'm going with my second favorite crypto behind Bitcoin, NEO, smart contract, China's Ethereum. I love NEO, always love NEO. I am invested in NEO, and I see great long-term investment from NEO. But this week, I think it dropped a little bit back down to 120. So I was just joking. It's not going to get 200% increase, but I do see it getting about the 140, maybe 150 mark if we're lucky, or if I'm lucky. So yeah, I like NEO a lot, and I think it's going to have a good week.
All right, awesome. I went with Ethereum Classic this week, so you got to go with the Classic, Coca-Cola Classic, Ethereum Classic.
It's been on a run too.
Yeah, it's up a little bit today over the last 24 hours, so that kind of scares me. Typically, I like to invest in something that's had a kind of a down week. But I see some growth in it. I'm hoping for some growth in it. We had a little tiny bit of growth right here, even in this kind of bear trend. And we're hoping to pick it up something big for next week and kind of put me back on top. All righty, guys. Well, that about wraps things up for this episode of The D. So be sure to tune in next week when we find out what it's like to start a successful crypto podcast with Demetric Ferguson from the immensely popular The Bitcoin Podcast Network, who just recently surpassed 1 million listeners. So check us out and be sure to send us comments as well at DTalk Podcast at Twitter and Facebook, and Decentralized Talk on iTunes and iHeartRadio. We got links in the website below.